Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another week of creative diversification. My name is Petrullo, and we are doing a webinar every single Friday. We're using Restream, and there's a lot of really fun features that sometimes we work with, and we always are improvising for improvement. These are supposed to be ideally informative and therefore informal. Heather on my team is going to be in the background. She's going to be helping control some of our slides. So as new updates of what we are advertising this week inside of this week's webinar, we've got a mobile view. So if you're tuning in on TikTok or Instagram Live, welcome. Hopefully you're seeing me in the middle of the screen. Hence why I've been moving over a little bit because I have to make sure I'm self-centered. Well, I am self-centered. I have to make sure that I'm centered in front of the screen. This week, we have added new channels as well as added a portrait mode. So if you're viewing on those platforms, if you are participating on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, or my personal Facebook page, awesome, you're welcome to participate in the comments, whether now live, and you can engage with us in real time, or in the replay. Your feedback is always most welcome. We will use that to try to make these better. We do a different webinar every Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern with very few exceptions. One is coming up soon because we'll be speaking in Romania. Very excited for that. However, for the most part, these are live almost every Friday at 3 p.m. So if you're subscribed to YouTube, you can hit that bell and then you'll get notified every time we go live. These are a rotating series of different topics. We talk about we talk about creative diversification, how we structure meta ads. We talk about ways that you can maximize the revenue from your own email marketing. What is the type of reporting that I look at as a CMO, and as well as how do you evaluate the different pipelines in your marketing and sales efforts so that it can coordinate it with all of your other marketing stuff in tow. So if this is your first time, welcome. Very excited to have you here. If this is not your first time, or if you're a member of the team and you're here for training because this is like an obligation where we make sure everything is the same, very, very excited. I've just popped up on the comments and I was like, oh, okay. I was like, oh, people are here. I was like, hey, Sammy, hey, Bay. Very excited for us to figure out whatever these emojis are. I don't know why Restream shows them like this. It's like, it would be more fun if we could actually see them. Gulam, you are correct. Today's webinar is happening from the airport. Welcome to Nashville. I appreciate, Sammy, that you like this lipstick, and absolutely, Gulam, that self-centered comment made it all the way there. Excited. We've got some of you jumping in on YouTube. I'm going to, once Heather can confirm that all the different channels are working the way that they're supposed to be working, I'm going to exit out of managing the comments, and then Heather, the show will be yours. So thanks again for everyone for jumping in. Creative diversification is the one that I'm actually really excited to share this week because there's been quite a few changes, and we're bringing in a lot more of the pieces that go into creative diversification. In past webinars, we've talked about creative diversification and what does that mean? Why is it important? But we're going to get into a little bit deeper. And in today's episode, we're going to talk about how do you know when it's time to turn off an ad. We're going to talk about how do you know if an ad is actually good or not. And we're just going to have more or less of a graduated conversation. So if this is your first time listening to the creative diversification webinar, awesome. You're in a good place. We do have a playlist of other ones on this exact same subject. We do it essentially every month. So if this subject is super intriguing to you, whether you're a graphic designer or you're a former media buyer, because that job doesn't exist anymore, but you're in the growth space and you're helping run ads for your brand or your client, I'd recommend that you can check out some of those past streams. Heather in the background can drop any of those QR codes that are relevant. I've got confirmation that it's looking good on the other ones. And Bay, of course, this is your favorite webinar. We got to jump into a lot of pieces recently on the subject matter. So I am going to be switching hands off. Heather, you are the captain now of this stream, and just have a frank conversation about the creative diversification. So to my team, thanks for being here. As always, to any stranger that's paying attention, acting as a fly on wall, if you've been able to join us through the sign up, awesome. You're absolutely in the right place. Only thing is you'll be able to participate live, so you will have to jump to a YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, or Instagram. I recommend just jumping to YouTube so that you can participate. And please ask any questions that you may have. I'm from the city of Chicago. English is my first language, which means I talk really fast, and I do not give a very kind advantage to those who speak more than one language because I speak so fast and have a lisp So sometimes you'll hear me stumble, but again, these are ideally informative, albeit informal. There's 4 topics I'm going to try to have us get through by the end of this 45 minutes to an hour. First one is just, again, a blanket overview of why creative diversification matters. This is imperative for Meta, but as team, we've been talking about how we're applying the exact same campaign strategies of 5 horsemen and this creative diversification to LinkedIn as well as TikTok. TikTok has a different ad fatigue type of thing, but today is 98% based off of Meta, but it's definitely something that we need to be apply and be hyper mindful of across the other platforms, because what Meta's doing, all the other ad networks are going to follow. At the end of the day, it's all about 2 words that I always say with marketing. It's personalization and relevance. That's what matters in 2026. So where Meta may say that, yes, we want to have the creative diversification in Andromeda, the other platforms are going to see monkey do, being Mark Zuckerberg, our favorite chimpanzee. What's really important about understanding that why this creative diversification, we'll get deeper into it in a second, matters is, while, again, Meta sets the tones, the rest will follow. The no truer statement is that your creative is curating the audience. So that is not exclusive to Meta. That is everywhere on every ad network. Your creative is supposed to resonate. So we'll talk about more of that later. Then we'll talk about the types of diversification. How do we know that you have a unique ad? What are some of the numbers that are relevant so that we can understand what does creative diversification actually mean? We'll say why it matters, and then how do we have that distinctive creative diversification. Part 3, this is the newest section. This is talking about that Harvard Business Review internally as a team and some of the ways that we need to start repositioning our ads. This is not the day and age where you could be like, here's a red shirt, buy it. Or what you could even do like a year ago and say like, I've got a sale. Consumers don't want that. We have to be mindful that the different ways that we are marketing across generations, across platforms, across placements has to be relevant. And if we are going to be telling someone that, oh, because it's a good offer, they should buy, that's not how people are going to shop, especially Gen Z and soon Gen Alpha. Gen Zers, they grew up with influencers selling them stuff. It's like, what is it? Like the millennial moment with Coldplay. So many millennials felt personally offended because these were influencers that they had grown up alongside and put so much trust into it. We've talked about extensively in past webinars how, and in team meetings, that we've gone through a trust recession since 2023. After the pandemic, people were like, I need to get outside. And then wait a second, I feel so betrayed. A lot of like fast companies showed up during the pandemic. They were rather scammy. Things that had worked before no longer had like a guarantee of working anymore. So our consumers, especially in online shopping, have become more and more sophisticated and having more and more expectations. After the trust recession really emerged, we started seeing in shopping experiences where people are at the store on their phone, looking at Amazon, being like, let me see that price difference. Where you're in a store and being like, instead of buying this book from a local business owner, I'm going to buy it cheaper elsewhere. So we have a savvier consumer, a more sophisticated consumer, and we have an individual that if you haven't earned their trust, you're not going to get their dollar. So we'll talk about how you can have better success with your ads so that we can come after our ideal consumers in a way that meets the Andromeda needs of creative diversification and the psychology needs of the consumer. For them to give us those 16 magical digits, we have to also provide them a magical experience. Last but not least, assuming time allows it, Heather, you're the captain of the slide. So if I am taking too long on one subject, you get to cut me off. Oh, and that's her cutting me off. So we'll get into it. So in the first part of it, when we're talking about why creative diversification matters, everything that is marketing, I'll say again, comes to 2 words: personalization and relevancy. It's the only 2 words I care about in 2026. But what is a function of marketing? And someone said it, and I really liked it, where they said, marketing is convincing someone something that it's true enough to be believable. At the end of the day, everything that we're doing marketing is I'm trying to convince you something to be true enough that you believe it. And part of the way that we convince people to be true enough that this product is going to save their life, that this product is going to make them save time, save money, be more efficient. You'll see on that later. What you're doing is when you're using paid media, organic media, all of that is you're renting someone's attention. You can't buy it. Previously, I'd say, oh, you're buying someone's attention. Like, I get it. But the reality is you're renting it because you don't own it. You don't get to keep it. right? If you're wearing a designer brand and it says like Gucci across or Tommy Hilfiger across, then you get a little bit of ownership of attention. But the reality is all of our ads is renting attention. And when we rent that attention, you're doing it with the goal of earning their trust. We have to earn their trust so that we can earn their dollar. And when we're renting their attention, if we aren't truly capturing it, we're wasting it. It's like, what a waste of time. And some of that comes into when you have an ad. So when we're running ads, you can run ads on feed, you can have it on carousel, like you do stories, you can have it in marketplace, you can have it in search. There's, I want to say, 16 different placements. Someone in the comments, let me know how many different placements are there with Meta. And also, I'm going to say, Heather, if there are comments, you have to share them on the screen, because otherwise I'm assuming I'm having a very quiet conversation with myself. But hey, team, specifically, if one of you can look up how many different placements are there with Meta, because a lot of people, thanks, Heather, I appreciate you sharing out, because we have a private chat that I'm just going to acknowledge her on. So there's like different places, and a lot of people think of like, oh, okay, yeah, I need to have like a 1080 by 1080, and I need to have a 1080 by 1920, or I need to have that 1200 by 628. Like those are really archaic numbers, because one, those numbers don't matter anymore, but the dimensions still. When we are running Meta ads, there's really 3 different sizes that we, at least at Mongoose Media, look at. Remember, I was like, besides Bay, if anyone remembers what those numbers are, 34 placements. Oh, dang, I was off. Whoa, Irish. Ha-cha-cha. 34 different placements. Before I go into that next question, like stories, feed, right side, yeah, well, those are some of those examples, but 34 different placements, that's 34 different places your ads on Meta can show up. And so when people do, like, the thing that I think is like the stupidest thing ever is they just create one size. Let me take it back. That's not the stupidest thing ever. That's not fair. I easily wasted use of renting someone's attention by having an unoptimized placement is you upload just the 1 by 1, formerly the 1080 by 1080. The team, as you know, it's 1440 by 1440. We're filming in 4K and 8K. We have bigger screens. You need to increase the pixels that you're doing on your assets that you're uploading to files. Otherwise, it's going to look strange. And when you look strange, unless it's intentional because you're trying to stand out, often or not, more often than not, is you're wasting the dollars that you spent in renting their attention. You're like, you got my attention, but you failed because you dropped the ball. The ad obviously looks like an ad, and I'm not in the mood to look at ads right now, am I? No. So I'm going to go right past you. Contrary to the, like, you can stand out by fitting in, which is something we talk a lot about when we're doing foreign language conversion ads. But for the most part, right, what I'm talking about now is when people waste the attention that they earn. So as Irish pointed out, there's 34 different placements. What are the 2 words for 2026? Personalization and relevance. If you don't have an ad that's relevant for that specific placement, you are missing an opportunity. And so it's a silly waste of the impression and the money you put behind reaching that potential customer because you didn't optimize the placement for it. I've been doing this for over a decade, and even I got it wrong with the thing in 17. 34 is so large. So you just have to be mindful of where will they see the ad? What's their experience? Is it like a real ad? Is it an ad in marketplace? Like you need to be mindful for it. So there's the 3 sizes we do. And Heather, yep, you pushed it. So I'll close on this 3 slides because I just don't want to forget the 3 portions. 1 by 1, which we say is 1440 by 1440, 9 by 16, which is 1440 by 2560, and then we have the 1440 by 1800. That's our 4 by 5. There is still a horizontal one, and we saw it in carousels just the other day, team. And while you're working on some of the carousels and like switching them up so that we can have that horizontal size, which is like that 1 by 1, no, 1.91 by 1. Oh, that's so weird. The YouTube thumbnail size. For the most part, when we use the Creative Hub inside of Meta, which is a free tool that lets you upload your creative so you can see how it fits across all 34 placements, it's really quick and easy to see that part of the creative diversification that doesn't get a lot of attention isn't that not only do you need to have a bunch of different flavors, is you need to have your ads set up correctly for the placement they're going to be on, or it's going to be a wasted amount of time. So hopefully that's making place so far. And that's like some housekeeping things. On the creative diversification needs for Andromeda, the way that we look at it is we call it the lick test. Like, does it taste good? Obviously, it's on brand. Follow my fanny, and like having actual condoms from business cards allows us to have a bit more fun. And when I'm often explaining this to people, so team, like whether I'm at like a conference and asking the audience, or like when we've had our calls and we ask like, what is your favorite flavor ice cream? Guam's is like strawberry cheesecake. Irish is gonna pretend it's not vanilla, and mango. But like we all have different favorite flavors of ice cream. Me, I'm obsessed with Moose Tracks. Although recently when I was in Arizona, in Scottsdale, there was a place that had mango and raspberry sorbet together. And I was like, oh, say less. But the fact of the matter is, like, we all have a favorite flavor of ice cream, and it's often different than our friends, our kids, our spouses, our teachers. When we have a different, unique flavor of ice cream that we like really go for, coffee or pistachio or pralines and cream, we identify so much with the flavor that we like. Yes, Glom says strawberry cheesecake. I was like, good. Someone has to tell me what their favorite flavor ice cream is. Mango, tango, Irish. Ha 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 ha. When we have an ice cream flavor that we love and you see it, you're like, oh, I'm all in. I want you to get that same emotional, visceral response from the way you like your ice cream with the way your audience resonates with your ads. And the ways that we can do that is by being hyper personalized and hyper relevant. We don't want to have a vanilla ad because very seldomly do we come across someone that says like, oh, I absolutely love vanilla. Vanilla is my favorite ice cream. I'm going to call BS on that one. That's like that pippity boppity bullshit, because there's no way that you like vanilla. Because if vanilla really was a flavor that people were like diehards about, there wouldn't be French vanilla, as well as like vanilla yogurt, as well as froyo vanilla, which might be the same thing. Or there's like lactose vanilla. People will be okay with vanilla, but they have to make it their own specific flavor of vanilla. And when you're doing a vanilla, because everyone likes vanilla, but it's not the distinct response you have. And I'm like, oh, Moose Tracks, obsessed. So we want your ads to be not vanilla, because vanilla is, everyone likes it, but then when you're talking to everyone, no one really listens. So we want to actually use our creative to curate our audience, which means I don't want everyone to listen to my creative. I mean, I eventually want people to see it, but Meta has like what, 3,000+ individual signals about us. They know more about us than we can possibly imagine. The whole Andromeda, the ad retrieval engine behind Meta advertising, has billions, with a B, as in Bravo, billions of dollars behind it. I don't want to pretend I'm smarter than billions of dollars and decades of programmatic AI. Therefore, I can make a creative that's going to isolate audiences. I'm not trying to intentionally leave out. I'm trying to intentionally focus on them. And some of that can mean is like, I want to talk to an audience that is a 75-year-old grandma with 16 grandchildren. And I want to talk to a different audience of a 72-year-old man who has no grandkids, but 16 dogs. Those are two very different people. And I want ads that resonate with them differently. To the Fijian mom, to the Filipina aunt, to the foster kid who is a YouTube up and coming star. The people behind the credit cards are as unique as their credit card numbers. And when we create ads that can resonate with them, that's when you're going to be able to have this lick test of, here's the pistachio flavor ice cream, here's the gooseberry flavor ice cream, here is the Oreos cooking cream flavor ice cream, here's mint chocolate chip. Those different flavor of ice creams, and having a variety of different ads that speak different advertising love languages allows you to penetrate new audiences. Like, it's literally how Andromeda is set up. So when you find yourself having creative fatigue or potentially offer fatigue, I implore you to look at and evaluate of whether or not you're doing vanilla advertising, or are you actually making specific flavors of ice cream type of ads. Again, I'm not saying like isolate to the way of like, you're not welcome here. That's not, there's no like, what do we call it? Advertisements? Like, it's not like racism or sexism or anything like that, but there has to be like some term that we can come up with where you're like, no, you're not worthy of our ads, because there are some brands that will like price you out and things of that nature. We're not trying to be intentionally exclusive, but we are trying to be intentionally direct so that we can create ads that really hit different people's like psychology of sales love language, as well as like who they are, so they feel seen and heard, because it's way easier to like and trust you when I feel recognition. And some of the easiest ways is if you have everyone in your ads that look like me, if you have always the same gender, always the same profile, it won't work. And just as you see on this now screen, the two ads that are in front of you, we've got one which is the white shoe and one is the gray shoe. We can all acknowledge that these are two clearly different products. Maybe to the men in the room that are like, oh, those shoes look the exact same, choose the one on the right. Why? Because to me they look the exact same. I'm not talking about that, but for the most part, we can see that these are two different products. One is a gray suede shoe with a cover, the other is a white lace up, which is probably actually a different material as well. However, are these two ads actually the same to Andromeda? The answer is they are the same. There's nothing different between these two here. There's a number at the bottom, if you can see it, or if you're on mobile above, 25% difference. If we don't have it, oh yeah, look at that, Irish. Heather, for you bringing it in, appreciate that. This is what it's like, a 1-2. You're in Cleveland, I'm in Nashville. Hello. Can you hear me? Anyways, so when you see these two ads, we know that they are two different products. Meta doesn't see them as two different ads. Similar toned skin, feet kind of in same position, both have gray pants, both on a floor. Like there really isn't much that's going on that for an algorithm to be like, okay, yes, these are obviously two different ones. I think there was like a study. Miranda Priestley has entered the chat. Oh, absolutely Irish. She's going to be like, these are absolutely two different ones. But Miranda Priestley isn't behind Andromeda. The stereotypical like meme guy on Reddit who is asked, should I wear this dress or this dress? And he's like, both look the same, honey. That's Andromeda for us. But if you're wearing like a dress that's like about to show your booty and then a dress that looks like Victorian elegant covered to your neck, then the partner might be like, oh, those are very different dresses. We need to do that same type of distinction with our creatives. No Miranda Priestley, because she is not going to help us. And when we're looking at these two as the same, on the next slide, I want to show you what Meta needs you to have as different. Here, there's two ways that are showing difference. The first one that I want to talk about is the variety of formats. So one is we have a static, and then so one is like, first one is static. They're both clearly static. One is like where you have the white shoes. It's same position as before, but it was just a like below the knees shot. Here we have a full body. We have someone that's tying him and putting the shoes on. There's also text overlay. It says Justin for fall, new Oxfords and lace ups. So those Meta sees as two different ads. Now both of them are statics, so they're in the same auction inventory. The other way that you can do ad variety for creative diversification with Meta is, as far as we understand everything, because like I'm not a lawyer, this is not legal advice. There are no guarantees in anything other than you guarantee to try your best and hardest. The way that like creative as a static, they here are at least 25% difference. I think we can all agree that full body shot, someone wearing jeans and socks and putting the actual shoes on and having an overlay where it's talking about Justin for fall versus just, hey, here's a picture of my kicks, are two different ads visually that even Miranda Priestley will agree on. Or what, Andy? I think we don't want an Emily opinion. We want an Andy opinion. We want Anne Hathaway to enter the chat where she's like, I'm bringing it. Yes, Andy. Okay, great. Whew, phew. I'm like, Irish, I need you to help me out with the Devil Wears product because I didn't see the sequel yet and it's been a minute. So having creative distinctions where at least 25% of the creative looks different will pass the test in Andromeda to say like, okay, well, let me penetrate new audiences. Who identifies as like a Black professional man who wants to have like a fitted outfit where I'm business casual versus potentially the gentleman on the left is like, I don't know, like an Asian gentleman who is going to a country club. There's two very different profiles. I mean, I'm not saying that the Black professional doesn't also go to a country club, but all that to say is like the ads the Andromeda retrieval engine is going to try to put ads in front of people that are more relevant for that ad. Because why? When you convert on your ads, Meta essentially gets a profit share. And the way I mean that is like, when you're investing in ads, typically you put 20 to 25% of your ad spend into creative development. So if you're spending $100,000 a month, you should be more or less investing $20,000 to $25,000 in new creative. That's just like the golden ratio of when you're spending money in ads to how much you should invest into creative. But you're not just paying for the creative. You're often paying an agency like Mongoose Media to manage your ads. And historically, we've been charging 20%. That's a pretty de facto number of what percentage of ad spend has been historically used to manage ads. Now, obviously that's changed because AI enables us to be more cost effective. But that's a lot that goes into it of when you're managing the ads. I had a reason for it. Train of thought's gone. But going back to the difference of stuff, you have a 25% ratio, so it has to be distinct. And then the second piece is you can do different placements. So these are statics. You can also do a video, or you can do a carousel. There's 3 different inventories that Meta has. So we could take this photo on the left where it's just a shot below the knees of someone showing off their kicks. We can make a carousel of a bunch of different things and like have that as placement. We can do a video of it where maybe it starts and it zooms out, and then he's going to cross his leg, and then he's going to like tap, or maybe he's like tapping his foot because he's waiting for his daughter to come down the stairs and show off her soccer uniform, whatever that is. Like you can do the ad creative diversification where you have 2 visual distinctions, or you can do diversification for placements. So carousel, video, static. Those are the 3 that we use. Let's jump to the next one. Because when we have been talking about creative diversification, we talked a lot about the why. Now we're just going to talk about the what. And so this is, again, relatively new to what we've been talking about before. We are calling them right now 3 different types of ads, and this might evolve. So if anyone on the team or like anyone listening has like a different version of this, I'm all ears. But when we're evaluating creative that we get from clients, creative that we make, creative that we're just watching in the ecosystem and looking at getting inspired or seeing what competitors are doing, it's really easy to look at ads and see if they fit into one of 3 categories: ego, attention, and on brand. Where this comes in a lot with ego ads, whether you're running the ads yourself or you've seen it. There are ads that if you are a stranger to the brand, you're likely not going to pay attention whatsoever unless you have so much credibility and understanding who is in that ad. Otherwise, it's irrelevant. For anyone that's watching this replay that signed up, you might have, or is here live, you might have signed up for this webinar or another webinar of ours, not because you know who I am, unless you listen to Perpetual Traffic Podcast and are one of the 250,000 listeners every month, or like you've seen my courses with Digital Marketer. Let's assume you have no idea who I am. And if I were to make ads that were only about like, hey, I'm Lauren Petrullo, I've helped hundreds of millions of dollars for my clients to earn through Facebook advertising. If you were to see something like that, the trust isn't going to be because you recognize my face. It's going to be because you're impressed by the statistics behind what I've been able to achieve over the years. But if I were to just do ads that were only my face, or if there's another brand that's just doing ads that include people from their team, a stranger will have no idea who that person is. And it's going to be really hard when you're renting their attention to earn their trust if you're leveraging the personality or the ego first and foremost. Why? Because no one buys like that no one's going to buy from the ego unless you have some psychological trick and you're like, oh my gosh. There was that like one gentleman who was in jail and he had like really, really, really pretty eyes. And he was like America's most sexiest man behind bars. Hopefully someone else remembers this. Otherwise I will sound crazy. But if you haven't looked it up, look it up, because like that could be like the exception, because he was just like a beautiful specimen and everyone's like, how did no one protect this individual? And for the most part, it's really important that we're mindful of when you're looking at ads and you're evaluating what ad category does this fall into. Is this an ego ad? Is this a brand ad? Or is it an attention ad? When it's an ego ad, like we have on screen, there's often zero value to the cold stranger. You have to do a lot to follow up with it, and it's not what you want. You're going to have to do it. If you're in marketing and you have a client that's like, I really want this, okay? Like our owner just wants to see his face in the ads, right? If it's more about the person in the image than the solution you're selling, it's not going to likely convert to the way we think it is. But sometimes, you just got to bite the bullet. The person who's paying or the person who's behind the credit card is asking for it. So do it. Just please don't let that be all your ads. In the next one, though, what we want to talk about are like their on-brand ads and their attention ads. Lauren Petrullo, stand by liking attention ads more than anything else. Why? Because if I'm earning and renting your attention and I can't get it, if I can like, hi, look at me, hello, like however I can do to get your attention, when I'm able to stop the scroll and earn the click, I have your attention. But you don't want it to be like a bait and switch. Like you got my attention and then you're like, oh, this isn't relevant to me. That's not what you want to do. So you get to play this really fine, delicate line. For the perfect ad is one that captures attention and is on brand. So that's a third category. So it's ego, attention, and on brand. Not all of your on brand ads are going to capture attention, but also not all of your attention ads are going to be on brand. So you get to choose and you get to play that fine line and you get to do advert testing to figure out what makes the most sense. And yes, it's advert testing because we don't do advertising. We do advert testing because everything is always testing. There are no guarantees, right? So when you're doing these attention ads, it's really good, especially if you're top of funnel. If you can do something that's like playing off of nostalgia or something that's like really connecting with that user, like the Fijian mom example. If you have an ad that's all about being a Fijian mom and you are a Fijian mom, you're like, I feel so seen. It's caught my attention, because you're often missed in the marketplace of ads unless you're physically in Fiji. But there's a huge population outside of Fiji that warrants some attention. I'm not saying like, oh, go in and make all of your ads about Fijian moms. You just have to understand your consumer and that like stop having one single avatar. There is no such thing as one avatar anymore. You have multiple different avatars because you have multiple different reasons why people buy, as well as you have a diversity of customers that are behind your brand. So with the attention ads, especially on platforms that are social media, like social media is an interruptive platform. I'm just going to take it to the chat. So team asking you guys, if social media is interruptive, do you remember what the opposite of interruptive advertising is? So what Google, Bing, Yahoo, and all of them are. So social media is interruptive because people aren't intentionally trying to find something. So you have interruptive advertising versus what? It's another I word. So I'm curious as to who. So this is just me asking the team. But with social media, you're online because you're like, I want to look at face wedding. I want to see what city is Lauren flown to today. I want to look at whatever. You're not going on social media because you're intentionally seeking something out. By the way, team, you can Google it. Whoever is first is going to get brownie points. Heather, we should start keeping a tally. So we should have bonus points. And then, oh my gosh, okay, sorry, team. What we can do is when we'll come up with a number, and then whoever gets X number of numbers, like we can have like an award wheel. Oh my gosh, okay, we should do that. And like it could be like get a paid day off or get like lunch Uber eaten to your house. You just noticed the crowns for most comments. Oh, is there a crowns for most comments in YouTube? Okay, yes. That's funny. And Heather, you brought up the hippo for the ego ads. I think that would be a really good piece to share. So if you guys don't know what hippo is, like there's hippo and there's tiger. Those are just names of business personalities that are in the room. And hippo stands for like highest person in the office or something like that. So it's like the paycheck parade. So those are just a fun personalities. Heather, if you can share that on the YouTube comments, because I think the team would appreciate it, that'd be awesome. So we're back to the attention ones. Interruptive marketing is a place where you're on social media and you're trying to interrupt their feed and capture their attention. So I like more intention brands, but the other ones I am going to say, I don't know. Did anyone else comment? We have, Heather likes anything with peanut butter. Hippo, highest, okay, Heather was saying hippo is the highest paid person's opinion. And yes, it's true, attention can be the most fun to come up with all day. However, it's also often the hardest to get approved. So for social media, we have interruptive advertising, interruptive ads. Oh, Heather, you can have that done. And then we have inbound ads. So Google search, any search intent ones, like those are inbound because someone is specifically going to a search engine, and that can also be an LLM. They're looking for a solution. So I'm like, inbound me with answers. What are the best cookies? I'm just gonna grab what's near me. It's like, okay, where can I get Chips Ahoy and Reese's cookies? I'm looking for an answer. I'm typing something so I can receive an answer. When I'm going on social media, I'm not going there with an ass. Okay, Sammy, you get it. I don't know when you had posted it, if there's a delay in that. So we'll just say like, point to Gryffindor, we should make houses. Okay, so Sammy has 1 point. Yes, it is inbound. And when you're doing these 3 different type of ads, again, with the 34 different placements, there are ways, and it's coming. I mean, Instagram search is a thing. Instagram SEO is a thing. I travel a lot, and I'm really grateful for the opportunity it affords me. But like when I go to Romania, I'm literally going to be there for a few days. And so I'm going to go on Instagram and be like, professional photographer in Romania or in Bucharest, because I'm going to use Instagram SEO to find someone that I can hire, because I don't want to go to a search engine. I want to go to a visual search engine like Instagram and see what someone else's stuff is. So while social media predominantly is interruptive, there are ways that it can be inbound. But when we think of inbound, we think of more of Google, and that's sort of like, again, whether it's creative diversification here or creative diversification in Google, you want to have alignment so that people feel heard and seen. So attention ads, a lot of the ones that we do at Mongoose Media, we try to do attention as much. I don't know if, like, Heather, you were talking about the other day how you saw like the Lauren and the Chocolate Factory ads, or like we have like the Fetch ads. If you ever want to see the ways that we at Mongoose Media do creative diversification, you can always go to the Facebook ads library and type in Mongoose Media, and then you can see all the ads that we're running. So you can see how we're trying to walk our own talk. But let's go to the next one so we can talk about what are the on-brand ads. Because I still have 2 more things that I want to cover. So we talked about attention is like, how do I get attention? And like sometimes attention, like obviously we know what sells, right? It's what's on brand for us. I'm trying to be mindful because I don't want YouTube to be mad at me for the profanity that I so often use. So it's like, what is the oldest profession in the world? Anything often related to sex is often what sells. So it grabs attention. It's like been typically easy for an attractive brunette to make you more money than a non-attractive brunette, right? So when you're looking at stuff that's attention, you have to be mindful and consider it often. Is it also on brand? Because I can get someone's attention, but if it's not on brand, it can feel like we're lying to our future customer or not standing on our own ethos. So that's where this intersection of on brand and capturing attention, when you can find that balance, such harmony. Okay, last time we did voices, now I'm doing awful singing. Sorry, we should not move on to the next one because I don't want to do more singing. But for on the on brand, as like we've got here, like cold audiences can scroll right past it. If they don't have brand affiliation with you, it's like almost like a stepchild of ego ads, because you can have an ego that your brand is super recognized, but the reality is people don't even know a lot of brands within the Disney franchise, Sammy excluding, because she's got like hundreds of thousands of followers for her Disney adult accounts. But if I were to be like, hey, can you name 7 animated films from Disney that have 1-word titles? I think most people will be surprised at some of the more easy ones because they don't think of it as Disney. And Disney, a company I used to work for, is one of the most recognized brands in the world. And so that's why I'm calling it as like a redheaded stepchild of our ego brands. Ego brands is usually about the person in the image, whereas something that's on brand is like, I want to make sure it's like protected. It needs to be on these brand colors. It needs to be on this brand feeling. It needs to have this background. And I get it. For some companies, that is going to come into play. So just be mindful of how it can sometimes interfere. And it's fun when you can test it. Always it's advert testing. You put small budgets. When you have brand guidelines and you have brand restrictions, especially when you get into the higher corporate clients and those corporate things, those are just things you have to be mindful of. But those are just the 3 type of ads that I wanted to show you all to see if like how familiar you are with, oh, Heather, thanks for sharing the URL. So if you're watching on YouTube, Heather's already shared the URL for us to be able to see, like, for us to walk our own talk. So yeah, how might we have this like really good intersection of on brand and attention? Well, that's where you get to have fun and do Mad Men level creation. We love doing ones that are attention seeking because they're 1, more fun, 2, myself and Mongoose Media, like we don't have brands that are like incredibly recognizable. When it is, like, oh my gosh, love you guys. Thanks. It's like twice in my life I've been not at a work related thing and someone like was like, wait a second, are you Lauren? I was like, oh, what? Well, yes I am. Shoot, do I owe you money? Like, it was like weird, but twice someone had seen me on stage at a ManyChat conference and then someone recognized me from the podcast. Although I will say, like, team, I don't know if I told you this, like I was in, I want to say San Diego like 2 years ago, and we were talking about marketing and podcasts that we listened to. I was at a table where 8 people subscribed to Perpetual Traffic, and I had been a co-host for over a year now. And then someone was talking about like, oh yeah, Perpetual Traffic's a really good podcast. They've got great stuff. And I was like, I'm like, yeah, I heard that girl. She's super smart. I'm so glad they replaced that like not funny costume, because the girl is just really talented. I'm just making fun of myself because everyone at the table essentially said that they are active listeners of Perpetual Traffic, but no one had any idea that I was the co-host. And so it just became this moment. They didn't even recognize the voice. You know, my ego thought the same thing, but I don't have that distinctive a voice. Like, if I were to talk like Rob all the time, or to like have some sort of more distinctive voice, I don't know. But people, let's be real, people are also like listening to podcasts when they're running, when they're like in the middle of other activities, or in the gym, so they're not paying attention to the same way. We're all distracted viewers. I guarantee there's at least 2 of you on my pack right now that are doing something else in addition to listening to this webinar. Just facts, which is okay in distracted viewership. All I just say, like, as grateful as I am for the moments of recognition for all the work that we put in there into this world, I am by no means someone that's going to stand on 2 feet and say like, we need to be on brand always. Don't get me wrong, team, like, you know that there's stuff where it's like, it's fun when we can leverage brand. That is good. But Sammy, some of the best work that I think you've done and some of the best performing creatives have been completely something that I wouldn't say is on brand whatsoever, on brand at all. There's a word there that I'm slipping, because I'm like, how might we do this? So Heather is right. She's doing, like, I do love a troll opportunity. So in the moment where I wasn't recognized, I was happy to do the trolling right back, for sure. So these are just like the different type of ads: on brand, attention ads, and ego-based ads. Those aren't things, team, that we're going to like say to the client. That's just something that we need to be mindful of. How might we find that intersection of being on brand and attention? And how might we make sure that we're checking ourselves, that we're not leaning into ego? There's going to be a component of ego ads because we have to build that brand recognition, right, team? Like, I'm not saying that ego ads don't have a place. We have an audience. We have a full funnel that we're engaging people. We have engaged audiences and existing consumers. We want them to remember who Mongoose Media is, who I, Lauren Petrullo, is, because if they're going to give us their time and join us on this weekly training, it's not saying that ego ads don't have a place. I'm just inviting you all to be mindful of like the 3 different ways that we can look at ads, so that we can also be diverse, not just in what the creative looks like, not just in the placement type of creative, video, carousel, or static, but also in the representation. Do we have attention only ads? Do we have brand only ads? Do we have ego based only ads? We want to have creative diversification at large. All right, Heather, we've got 17 minutes left, and we've got consumer needs as well as the hooks to get through. So, oh my gosh, Bob, hi, you're on Instagram and you believe I have a distinct voice? Well, I appreciate that. Interesting though that, like, Heather, I'm guessing then Instagram comments aren't going to show up here. Comments not coming over. Okay, well, noted. Bob, love your face. Hi. Thanks for at least letting us know that Instagram Live is working. Bay, you are amazing. I appreciate you jumping in there. So with the next pieces of like the consumer needs. So this is the part to like, Bob, if you don't know about this, every lens that I do all of my ads from go through this. So we've said, like, for years, like, you never sell the product you produce, but the problem you solve, right? People want solutions. People don't want to be reminded of more of their problems. Here we're saying every ad is selling something. It's not your product. It's the consumer need. Oh, you switched to YouTube. Hello, Bob. Welcome. Okay, so now you can more actively participate in the conversation. So when we're selling a solution, we have to start looking at the lens of this consumer need. So can you jump to the next one, Heather? We don't have a screenshot of the, it came from Harvard Business Review. So it came out in 2016. And I have to give credit to Molly Pittman. I did train my traffic person, and this is where I actually learned about this. And she introduced the hierarchy of needs, like the Maslow hierarchy of needs, but of advertising, because it was done with Harvard Business Review. And this is way we are now tagging all of our creatives. I need to understand which need we're fulfilling. So there's a hierarchy, right? If we can get something that's social, that's like transcendence, you're going to connect with someone at a way that Tony Robbins can. And Tony Robbins is collecting hundreds of thousands of dollars from some of the same customers. But a lot of times when we're advertising the solution our product provides, we can look at the base level, which is it functional? Is it going to save time? Is it reducing cost? Is it simplifying? Does it have the ASMR type of piece? Like, is it functional? We want to sell that our solution is functional more than we want to sell that our solution's features, right? Then if we can go a bit deeper to the emotional, like wellness, this badge, does the ad that we're doing, what are we actually selling in the ad? Are we selling connection? Are we selling that by purchasing this product, you're going to have a badge like an Hermes? Okay, let's be real. If someone's walking around with an Hermes bag, this is a $15,000 to $32,000 bag, or especially like a Kelly or a Birkin, you're presenting yourself with a very specific image. So when you are saying, hey, come buy this watch, come buy this purse, come buy this whatever, and be a part of an elite, you're selling community, which is emotional. If you're having like when you're wearing a Formula One Ferrari hat, you're showing like a sense of belonging and a badge that you have. So that's an emotional connection. The next tier we have is life-changing. When you can sell hope, gosh, everyone wants hope. Now, people can be sick of it, but when you're able to sell hope, like actually, not like leveraging in a weird way, but you can sell real hope, then that life-changing, you're going to connect with the consumer, and you're often, for something to provide life-changing, it's a bigger investment. Functional, like it could be like this Rode microphone. When I chose it, I liked it because it was big. Let's be real. But I also needed to be functional. I needed it to be easy to come with me to travel. Like I was looking at the functionalities that were selling points behind Rode Mic. With other products that I purchased, I have an emotional connection. Does it nostalgia? Am I buying like Smucker's lip balm because it reminds me of my childhood? Am I buying jelly shoes because it reminds me of childhood? Absolutely. That's an emotional reason why I'm going to buy a product. I'm not looking at the product as much as I'm looking at the consumer needs. Lauren's hierarchy, is it pink or is it functional? Oh my gosh, Bob, by the way, if you go to laurenpetrullo.com, you should type in shoes and then just enjoy some of the pink functionality. Okay, but Bob, you're saying the flip side of this is whether Meta will be able to identify a demand pocket to deliver your ad to. Okay, fair. Meta will, for me, like I'm not the end all be all person behind it, but we have seen that when our ads have, at least when we started identifying whether it connects in our hierarchy of needs. Heather, can you go to the next slide so it shows what all the different ones are? And can you also, if you're be able to share the screen, like open up the Harvard Business Review page so I can show the actual triangle with those icons. Bob, you're saying, can it help identify the pocket to it? You're going to be able to identify it with the language and with the images itself. Okay, yes, great. Thank you so much. So here, Bob, or anyone else, I don't know if you have all seen this for the team. We've been talking about this quite a few times this week. Here, like when you're able to connect to all these different needs from the image and from the landing page, there's going to be a lot more onto this as well as in the ad, Bob. I believe for sure Meta's going to understand it, because if you let's look at functional. So this is a product that's going to reduce risk or make me money. Meta is going to serve you different products, different solutions, different services when you're clearly showing signals that you're looking for something that's going to make you money. So whether it's investing in buying a new business or investing in whatever, the different ads that's already being delivered to you, when you look at a functional level, Bob, at least I can tell you for sure from my feed, I am getting hit with a lot of different pieces. It's like when someone says, what's a competitor of Netflix? And when we were at Disney, there were times where like we had to compete with Netflix. And they're like, why are we competing? This is pre-Disney Plus. It wasn't that we were competing with the price point of Netflix. We were competing with the amount of time people were spending on Netflix. Watching Netflix was an alternative to going to a national park. Watching Netflix and binging Netflix was an alternative to purchasing this book. So that's where it's like, what are you using? How are you using your time? What are those needs? You're right when you're like, how do we know if Meta will do it? There's no documentation on it. But from when you look at your feed and you're like, I am looking for a better solution for clothes, right? Like, I hate shopping. Nothing ever fits me. I'm like a green bean. Okay. All the stores I like are expecting like women with more melatonin to wear their clothes because I go from shoulders to ankles. That's the first time you see any curves on this body. And I'm like, I want a better solution. So I receive ads for personal shoppers. I receive ads for renting clothes. I receive ads for, I'm trying to think of like what else has come up in my feed recently. Curated boxes sent to me every month. So I would say that is going after, what would that be? Saving time, simplification. Oh my gosh. Definitely reducing the effort. That's showing up for me. But you're saying, Bob, here, sometimes Meta doesn't deliver traffic to a certain ad, perhaps because Meta can't identify people in a corresponding demand bucket. Yeah, and that's fair. And then that's where if it can't, it can be why it's not delivering an ad because it can't find it, or it believes that a different ad has more opportunity, so it's not going to put time and energy into something that it doesn't have faith in, if that makes sense. So when we're trying to make creative diversification, we're like, okay, well, this ad isn't generating any attention, and like you created that, like, oh my gosh, your seen before rate. By the way, I just have to tell you, I like almost wanted to be like, can we please do a different webinar specifically on that? Because I have been looking that on across several other accounts, and on a Traffic Tuesday call that I just had with Ryan Dice's team, I was like, guys, this is, oh my gosh, I think it's like the brilliance of the data scientists to justifying a lot of like in theory and assumptions that we make in these creative solutions. So actually, Sammy, I don't even think I've told you yet about the seen before rate that Bob has come up with, but like, always coming. I've loved everything you have about it. Let me see. Our friend Jen had a photography offer for young female athletes that was dying. I told her to shard her eyes and create a bunch of ads, target lacrosse moms, dance moms, etc. Oh my gosh, I love this. Yeah, that's like the creative diversification of getting into diversity of pockets. The Fijian mom worked. Yes. Okay, I'll take that. There you go, Bob. 100% working. I mean, I'll say 99%. There's no guarantees and stuff, but I'm so glad that like when you can serve your ads, people want, like, Meta's algorithm is smart enough to look at the landing page, the ad, the creatives, as well as the actual text to understand the pocket. So like you said, you're using the like, how does it create new pockets of demand? Having diversity of creatives with who is the avatar behind it. But I'm going to also challenge people to, like you, Bob, you've said a lot, the jobs to be done. I think a lot of your ads, if you can start looking at it. So what we're doing now is we're tagging the ads inside of our dashboard, right? Like this is what I want us to do, team. Like, does this ad, what need are we selling? If we cannot identify what consumer need we are trying to get after, then it's not going to be a successful ad. There's no guarantees, but it's not something I'm ever going to improve. So like when we're doing our briefing, I need to know what consumer need we are addressing. What solution are we looking for? There can be more than one. The higher we go, the more impactful those creatives are going to be, always. So I just want to be mindful of, like, when we're talking about creative diversification, one of the things is like trying to understand, like, what is an ad? How do we know if it's working? How can we set ourselves up for the highest amount of success as possible? Especially if we're like in between attention ads and on-brand ads. It's just at the end, like, foundationally, what solution are we selling? And is it a solution of like connection? Is it a solution of like nostalgia? Is it something that's going to provide therapeutic value? If you can get to self-transcendence, oh my gosh, you're Jesus and you're walking on water. That's really hard to do in an ad. It might be possible inside of a funnel. So like, team, just so you know, I am not expecting the top of the pyramid, but I am expecting super clear understanding of the consumer need we are addressing. Heather, we can jump back into the rest of the slides. If anyone else has questions on it, like, just go ahead and message it. And then Heather, can you put it on that URL on LinkedIn? So if anyone wants to know where we got it from, because that came from purpose is for you, not us. The hook priority. So for the last of this that I want us to go over is when we're looking at and evaluating if an ad works, The way that I have been explaining the hook priority is, can do it. It was already in the chat. You rock, Heather. Thank you. The first and foremost thing, like the creative itself, like the image, is often what's going to have the first hierarchy of attention. Where most of us are visual, and it also just takes the most amount of real estate. When you have an ad that's 4x5, or if it's a story, we're visually looking. And I understand that's not everyone. There's 3 types of learners: visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. But at the end of the day, it's most people are visually first. So when we're looking at the ads and we're evaluating, do we think this ad is going to work? I'm going to always look at the creative first. Is the creative capturing my attention while being a little on brand if necessary? Then the second thing I'm looking at is the written hook. The written or verbatim hook is going to be 3 parts. The written or verbatim hook, like written like the actual text, is going to be the headline. It's going to be the first 125 characters, so everything before see more. After you've given me an ad that's visually worth my eyes, worth my thumb stop, then I'm going to look at my verbatim hook, and I don't know which one it's going to be. I'm going to look at either before the see more rate, the headline, or the first 3 sentences of that video, or the first 2 seconds, whatever is being said. That is the written or verbatim hook next. That often comes after, because the creative caught my attention. I'm now going to give you more of my attention in looking at the written or verbatim hook. The 3 different ways. It's Bob's your uncle, Mary's your aunt, choose your own adventure. So it's before the see more rate. So that first 125 characters, the headline, or what is verbatim said in the video. Then after we've captured visual hook rate, we've sustained interest, like their hand raised a little bit more, then we have the story hook, which is usually like the next paragraph or 2 in the primary text, or the continued seconds. When we're looking at video ads, there's 4 numbers. Remember, team, we designed for seconds 0, 3, 6, and 15. Bob is saying like the visual hooks are so important. For me, it's often, if you do not pay attention to the visual hook, you will have not paid attention to getting the scroll. And so I put it first. The visual hook, like you can have a really good story, but if you didn't get me to look at it, it's like if a tree falls, did it make a sound? If you don't have a visual one, it's not going to work. All right, so with time being, Heather's jumping to the KPI tiers. Here's, like I've mentioned, hook rate, hold rate, and see more rate a little bit. So that see more rate, that's the first 125 characters before someone clicks to see more. When you're looking inside of the before the click numbers, I like making sure that we are you jumped because that's what I was talking about. That's fair, Heather. When we're talking about see more rate, we want it to be 1.05% or higher. I want at least more than 1 in 100 people to click on see more. So that verbatim hook, that written hook that happens in that first 125 characters, if we are not looking at those ads to see if that initial copy is generating people to learn more, like you can't sell a consumer need in 125 characters. I mean, you can try. Nothing is impossible. You do you, baby. But the reality is you can sell more. A picture is worth 1,000 words. A video is worth 1,000 more times a frame. And when you can invest people, when you can continue to earn their attention, when you continue to rent their attention, when the rented of attention extends and they're starting now binging with the consumption, you're earning their trust more. So the KPIs that we look at, see more rate is specifically isolating, is the verbatim text. Interesting enough. The hook rate, we want it to be at least 25%. Goal is 30% really, but it's the impressions to 3 seconds. That goes back to the visual hook. If I cannot capture your visual hook, it goes hook, then hold. If I can't capture your visual hook and get you to pay attention for 3 seconds, I will never get to hold your attention for 15 seconds. So that's a through play inside of Meta. And so that through play is the way that you can do it. And like, hello, Taurus Creative. I was like, I'm pretty sure I know who that is, but I want to like triple check because it was spelled differently the way that Heather typed it. But yay, more people are participating on Instagram. Appreciate you so much. So with the hook rate, the visual hook, if you want to get, ideally you want to get 30%. If you're not getting 20%, it's pretty easy to say that like, when we think of social media, the second part of that word, isn't delivering well. Statics are like a different thing, and there's always, it depends, but especially if you have a video and you're doing this video, if you can't get a strong hook rate, no one's going to be able to understand what you sold. So then it just, again, at the beginning of this is, we don't have creative diversification. You don't know if an ad is going to work or not, so you need to have different options. And if you can see that your ad is historically not getting anyone to watch it, it can be ignoring if performance from the last click attribution is saying that this is a good ad. But for the most part, when we're evaluating the effectiveness of the ad before the click, we're going to look at the click, the hook rate, the hold rate, and the CMR rate. The hold rate is just, can I keep 20% of the people who I hooked their attention with? Can I keep 20% of them at least to watch through 15 seconds? Now, if you have an ad that's only 6 seconds or only 8 seconds, amazing, because then you're going to have a stronger hold rate potentially. Bob is saying you got to be careful with hold rates with short videos. Can you elaborate more on that? Because I actually think that shorter videos and having hold rate, what ends up happening is if it's so short and there's people that will put a lot of text and then they have to pause and they have a lot of interaction. It's just additional signals to Meta that's saying I'm interested in consuming more content. It's social media. The media piece is how much of that media can we consume? And then the socialization is, are we engaging? Is it keeping people on platform? Socialization mean not leaving the platform to go look at TikTok where they're going to have better entertainment for you, or it's having a conversation so that you can get more connected with it. I mean, whenever I find a good reel, the first thing I do is look at the comments, right? I need to know, what are other people talking about? But that's what social media is. And I talk a lot about how the first part of social media is social. So you have to have a conversation, do not have terminal comment responses. But the piece that we often neglect is that media piece, is the media getting me to pay attention more. So here's those, the three main numbers when we're looking at Heather. Let's just jump to, I think there's 2 more things I want to quickly check on. Okay. Oh, yay. You added this. So one piece of it is when we're looking at, is the ad by itself good? The ad is about getting the attention. The landing page is about selling the offer. The funnel is about your follow-up, right? So when we're looking at just the ad can't do all the heavy lifting. Your ad is not responsible for Meta becoming a bank account or an ATM for you. Your ad can do all the heavy lifting, and that happens. But for the most part, we have to look at, when we're going to increase our conversion, the ad, did I capture the attention? So we look at the before the click, the CMR rate, the hold rate, the hook rate, sentiment rate. Then I look at the landing page. Did my offer sell? I earned someone's trust when I rented their attention enough to get them to go to the landing page. Now, is my landing page offer sexy enough for them to want to make a commitment? The ad gets the attention. The landing page is focused on the success of the offer. And then the funnel is capturing up all the follow through. Really, not everyone's ready to buy right away. It's your audience is 3% at the bottom of the funnel is ready to buy right now. You have to build trust and you have to establish the many different love languages. Maybe they caught your attention because your ad talked about a functionality piece, such as it saves time. You're like, oh, that's good. Then you go to the offer and okay, cool. It does save me time, but the offer hasn't justified it enough for me to commit to my purchase. That's where your follow through comes through, where you're going to be able to hit on the other consumer needs. And then you have the diversity of creatives because you essentially hit their other love languages. We have love languages as human. What's it touch, words of affirmation, gifts? I don't know. I saw a really good reel. It's my love language is confirmed or words of confirmed booking, quality time abroad, and there's one other one. Whatever those are. It was a funny reel. If I sent it to anyone on the team, let me know. If I didn't, I need to send it to you because it was so good. But I believe that we also have consumer love languages. Do people resonate with saving money? Do people resonate with free shipping? Do people resonate I think we have individuals, we have a consumer needs we're looking for, but we also have an offer love language. So when your ad is about the attention, your landing page is about the offer. The ad can have one of the functional ones, but the offer didn't convince them enough. Your funnel can do that with your follow through, but your funnel can also then have your retargeting. So your ad can provide additional attention. So when we're looking at how is the before the click, the ad's attention doing, that's when we're talking about those numbers. But then you're well, how do I know if an ad's working or not? One, well, if Meta shuts it off, Meta's going to say, hey, we spent billions of dollars. Here's our best get. And I am not trying to fight the uphill battle of presuming I'm smarter than the $1 billion invested into Andromeda. However, I will be considerate that we have crawl, walk, run. You guys know I can't, it's easier for me to say walk, crawl, run, but it's in the opposite order. Crawl, walk, run. This is just what we determine if how do we at least give an ad enough effort? I hate when people are oh, this ad's not working. But it doesn't have enough to stand on. When I've worked in corporate, 20,000 impressions was the number for statistical significance. Sometimes that can get really expensive. If you have a CPM that's $90, oh, you don't want to put all that money just to get 20,000 impressions for that one ad. So what we have in that crawl, walk, run, if you can see on the screen, crawling is like, are you at a place where you're spending less than $10,000 a month on your business? Walking is, are you spending between $10,000 and $30,000 a month on your business? Running is where you're spending at least $30,000 a month. Because the reality is, Meta told me themselves, if you're spending less than $200,000 a month, and this was years ago, this was like when gas wasn't $8 a gallon. If you're spending less than $200,000 a month on ads, you are small potatoes. They appreciate it, but the reality is their attention goes more to the brands that are spending $200,000, and that's a lot. And where a large majority of people are going to be in that crawl use case where they're spending less than $10,000 a month, maybe they're not even spending $100 a day to get to $3,000 a month, which is okay. I still would like you to, before you like give up on an ad, in part of this creative diversification team, also when we're evaluating, is this worth making an iteration of, or is this something that like we don't want to make an iteration of, because we always have net new creatives and iterations. We have to be mindful of how much was spent and how much of it was seen. So for crawl, we're like, did that ad, that individual ad specifically, get at least $50 of ad spend and 500 impressions? I want it to be both. If we don't have at least $50 to spend, do we have at least 2,000 impressions? Because you might have tapped into a really affordable audience. And if we can't do 50 and 500, then the backup is, does it have at least 2,000 impressions? When we're looking at a client that's in the walk space, so they're spending between $10,000 and $30,000 a month, we're going to see, did that specific ad get at least $200 in spend and 2,000 impressions? Or we go to 5,000 alone. And the last one at the run is, did that ad specifically get at least 20,000 impressions? We don't have minimum ad spends, but that's like for accounts that are spending at least 30,000 a month. Often these are like, our clients that are spending $700,000, $800,000 a month of ads. We want to give it more statistical significance. And that just comes from my experience of what corporate was doing. So when we're looking at in our creative diversification, like Bob, like please, can we do more of your Seymour rate? Because it's just so freaking brilliant, and I love it, and I don't want to steal it. I want to like make you just like God's gift to Facebook advertising, because that seen before rate just makes so much sense. You can do a test premise with 1,000 impressions if you look at click-through data. Okay, that's a good challenge. So if we're looking at the click-through data alone, okay, I like that. Let's Sammy, let's look at like adding that into our Data Studio dashboard, and then let's evaluate the last 30 days for TCG specifically, and then we can see how that click-through rate is for any of the 1,000 impressions for some of their creatives, because let's explore where that can fit in as well, because that's a good idea. You say you should steal it. I'll use your words, Bob. God gave me eyes. I'll plagiarize. I'll come up with a funnier scene before, like, I can call it, is it a naked ad? Is it naked to the consumer? Like, is it the first time, or is it like, no, we'll come up with that. Anyways, I really like that. And so this week, I know the creative diversification is a little bit different, because I want to make sure, team, that like we understand the consumer needs and how important that is every single ad when we look at it. What need are we selling for? Like, what's the solution that's fulfilling that need? If we don't have a need to fill it out, I don't want us to run that ad. So everything has to come for like thinking at a baseline. What solution are we selling for? What's a problem that we're solving? Product comes after. People will buy whatever the product is, it will solve the solution, right? People will buy the strangest things, but if it's solving a need that they have and it's a viable solution, they'll go for it. So Heather, I don't know if there's anything else for the slides. I recognize that we went 10 minutes over. Sorry, friends. Next week, we've got Inside of CMO's Head. So it's going to be talking about more of the reporting specifically. Very excited. We have hundreds of people that have signed up for that one. So, so that's going to be next Friday, calling from San Francisco for the next one. So this week you get it from Nashville. Yeehaw. Next Friday will be from San Francisco. Maybe I can get some like sourdough or something, and I can have like more intentional fun, because in the following week is Heather, what's the next one on the following? Well, I'll be in Romania. So yeah, we should figure out, like, for each time I'm in a different location, how can we make it localized to those locations? Besides being at the Nashville airport, I should have worn a cowboy hat. That would have been more fun. So that's next week. If you haven't registered, feel free to join us there. And again, these are always just like fly on the wall-ish trainings where my team is present. I'm using this to make sure that they're aware of what we're talking about, and that we can talk talk our walk. And if anyone is interested in having more personal, oh my gosh, Ghirardelli, 100%. I will say yes to chocolate all the time. Just make sure people pronounce it correctly. It's not Ghirardelli, it's Ghirardelli. But if this is something, if you find any of this helpful, this is like pretty generic and talking to everyone and more talking to my team. If you have ever questions, of course, you're welcome to join Marketing Rehab. That's on Mondays, 11 a.m. Eastern, and we do a call, group work, and actually get into people's ad accounts. So thanks everyone for jumping in. Heather's the first time that we did 2 new channels, as well as doing our portrait mode. So Bob and Torres Creative, like, love you both for jumping in on that. Yes, the Saturday edition for the email revenue is because I'm calling from Romania, and that's a flight. So thanks so much. Those are the upcoming ones. The Horseman of the Ads Apocalypse. That's gonna always be my favorite because, oh man, do I have great new data for you, Bob, on this one. Oh, so exciting. And thanks everyone for jumping in, to the team, especially Heather for being behind the scenes, and team for always doing everything. We've had a really good week. I appreciate everyone. I know we've worked super hard, and I'm grateful for all of you. So in this, like, however I